Handmade Alphas. I am so excited this week. If you guys haven't already signed up for our free live webinar, which is going to be taking place on October 2nd, be sure to do that because we're afraid that registrations are going to have to be cut short. We already have over 400 people signed up for this live webinar, so I want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to do that. That way you don't miss out on all of this great stuff that's to come. We'll talk more about that at the end of this video, but I really want to talk to you guys today about effective note-taking. Now, this is something that a lot of people just don't do, or maybe they don't feel like it's important outside of like high school or college, but I really want to talk to you guys about note-taking and how it has completely changed my life and how I personally take notes. That way I can make sure that the most important information that I have is on paper, and this is really going to help you during the live webinar because trust me when I say you are going to want to take notes. This topic today is going to apply to note-taking, webinars, YouTube videos, and even books that you read. Actually, mostly books that you read. So jumping right in, I think that most of you guys know by now that I am a high school graduate, and that is about it. I have never gone to college. I have no college experience, and you know, a lot of people immediately tell me, well, Starla, that's kind of weird that you give all this business advice. How have you progressed so much in your career and in your handmade business without having the experience of having gone to college or having a degree in business? Let me tell you guys that it isn't a piece of cake. Like, actually building a business without going to school and, you know, just being right out of high school, yeah, it can be difficult, but there is one thing that can absolutely ensure that you will be successful, and that is to 100% dedicate all of the time that most people would spend in college and focus that on your passion. What I tell people when they ask me, you know, what is the quickest way for me to be successful? How can I make sure that my business will be successful? Make sure that for one, your business is your purpose. Find a purpose. That's like number one. Always find that purpose. And then every minute and spare penny that you have, align it with that purpose. So for me, I have in my life dedicated those spare moments and those spare seconds and those spare dollars into learning and making sure that everything that I learn aligns with my purpose. So no, I didn't go to college. However, I haven't wasted a single second of that time. Well, that's not entirely true. In fact, let me tell you guys a little bit, let's get a little bit personal here. Straight out of high school, my husband and I moved out, and we moved into this really cruddy house. It had black mold, and there were days when we didn't have a lot of food. We had no cable. We had really bad electric that flickered. We really didn't have anything but each other and like some VHS tapes that we would watch. Mind you that this was only a few years ago. I'm only 25 years old, so this was only like 7 years ago. It feels like, you know, during that time, I wish I would have had some of the insight and some of the dreams that I have now, because at that time I didn't really have any dreams. It was just like sit around, work my minimum wage job, and wait for my husband to get in the military, which he did. It wasn't until after he joined the military, and actually after I had my daughter, that I really decided that I was going to do something with my life and turn my life around and do something great, which at that time I was only 19 years old, so I still had plenty of time to do that. But I spent two years of my life just kind of not really doing anything. But when I was 18 and 19 years old, there was so much time that I could have been spending aligning with my purpose, and maybe I would have hit the success when I was in my earlier 20s rather than mid 20s where I am now. So it's never too late to start. Start anytime. Start today if you can, but make sure that you're using every minute to align with your purpose. For me, that was business. Now, starting off, I didn't search for answers. I just decided one day, you know what, I've heard of this Etsy thing. I'm going to put some products online and people are going to buy them. And that's not how it works. But I didn't know that. Maybe you don't know that. Who knows? But what I can say is that if you're just starting out, that's fine. It's fine if you've already jumped in. Some of you, I know for a fact, haven't jumped in yet and you're learning first. You guys have like an edge over me even, because when I'm going to call it your business age. When I was your business age, I was just jumping in, trying things, failing at things. And now, because I've made so many failures, rather than you guys having to make those failures for yourself, I am able to tell you what I did wrong. That way you can make sure that you don't do it. You can learn without actually making those mistakes yourself, which is ultimately what my channel is about. But back to our actual point. I'm sorry I keep like touching my glasses. I try not to touch my face, but they just keep sliding down. Back to our actual topic of this video, which is effective note-taking. When you are doing all of this learning, there is one thing that I know about psychology, and that is that the human mind is not designed to keep up with the amount of information that we put into it. Our brain is designed to focus on one thing. It is absolutely impossible to multitask. And anybody who says, oh, I'm a great multitasker, you know what? You might be good at quickly moving between tasks, but you can only truly put 100% of your focus into one thing at a time. And there's only so many points that we can carry in our brain at the same time. So if you need to go to the grocery store and you have to remember, you know, milk, eggs, diapers, lunch meat, cheese, cucumbers, lettuce, tomato, pickles, you're not gonna be able to remember all of those things without writing them down. Generally, we can only remember 4 pieces of complex data at a time. Note-taking is absolutely essential. It totally reflects the point that there is no possible way that we can remember the most important points. And another cool thing that our brain does, or not so cool, is that if it misses something or if it forgets something, it will fill in the blanks for you with associated information. You know, you might remember what you read completely different than how you read it and completely miss the point. That is why note-taking is so important, not just when you're in school, but when you're learning for yourself, when you're schooling yourself. A lot of people ask me, you know, how do you remember so much? How do you take in this information? How are you able to read books and completely translate that into your business life and make it work for you? Because I could read an entire book and immediately begin executing the things that I learn. And of course, that's one thing that I want to teach to you guys. A lot of the times, that's what I do is I read a book and then I give you guys the most important bits of information from that book. That way you don't have to go back and read it yourselves. I try to give out book recommendations when people ask me. So if you haven't joined my Handmade Alphas, you can get my free ebook for signing up, but you can also reply to any of the emails sent from me and I will reply to you. So if you need book recommendations, feel free to just send me an email and I will give you plenty of recommendations, which I also plan to do over the next few weeks while we do our book giveaways. That's an all new thing that will be coming soon. Once again, I keep diving from the topic. So excited today. Always, always, always take notes. And when you're reading a book, it should almost be like a treasure hunt, because when something stands out to you and you realize that this applies to you, this applies to your business, or maybe this will apply to you in the future, you get excited. Like you should get excited. I get excited. I'll be reading a book and find a sentence that absolutely stands out to me. Usually this is a key point that, you know, summarizes the chapter, or it's a quote. Quotes are my personal favorite thing to write down. Let me show you guys the extent of my note-taking. I know a lot of people, they don't even know where to start. They don't know what to do. So I'm gonna give you guys a few tips that I personally do when I'm taking notes. That way you can apply them to your life, and hopefully it will make reading and note-taking way easier for you in the future. All right, so starting out, I'm gonna show you guys my collection of notes. And the way that I do this is I always use composition notebooks when I'm taking notes from books, because it makes me less likely to rip the pages out of the book. I know that that's a really weird thing, but I'm really bad about needing a piece of paper and needing to rip a piece of paper out of a book to write myself like a quick little note somewhere on my desk, like to remember, you know, remember to buy envelopes. But I don't want to do that in my journals, in my actual business journals, because then I'm gonna have less paper for my journal, for one, and for two, it's gonna make my journals look sloppy. And for me personally, I like reading my notes when the notebook looks nice. I do it in a way that I enjoy, and it makes the whole note-taking experience better. And if you're the type of person like me who likes organization, who really likes stationery in general, I always recommend getting a notebook that you enjoy. If you really like the wide rule, like I do, that way it's easier on your eyes to read, get the wide rule, get some pens that you enjoy, get some highlighters, go through and highlight. Doodle if you need to. Make sure that you're doing it in a way that, you know, you actually enjoy. So I'm gonna grab a couple of my notebooks. This was my very first composition notebook that I actually took Handmade Titan University in. So this is probably my oldest note-taking book. One of the first things that you'll notice, it actually says Rich Mom University in the front. I always give myself a glossary that tells me exactly what pages I can find the information on. This is extremely important when you're taking a lot of notes, because I will remember, you know, a specific, like maybe a specific quote from a book that I read, and I really, really want to read it again, or I need to source it in one of my videos. So I can just go through, find out exactly what it is, if it came from a webinar, if it came from a book, if it came from a YouTube video, and then I can just go find the page. So number your pages. But then I also, after I take my notes, the next day, and I don't do it while I'm taking the notes, I do it the following day, mainly because it gives my ink time to dry, so I don't smudge it. But I take and I do the highlighting the day after, and this kind of gives me a reason to go back and read the notes that I've taken. I like to read books in the morning with my coffee, and I usually try to get a couple chapters out of the way in the morning while I'm waking up, and then the next morning I'll read what I wrote the day before, highlight what I need to, and then take notes for that day. This is one that I'm currently using, which it isn't, you know, super filled. And then I also have these notebooks, all for books. This one is for, no, these are books. And then I also have, this one is specifically for online courses that I've been taking. I have one for SEO in particular. So guys, I'm sure that you can see by now that I am a note-taking fanatic. I love taking notes. It is probably the most valuable thing that I do in my business life. Reading is not enough because you inevitably forget most of the information and key points that you've read, especially when there is a quote or a key point that really stands out to you. It is extremely hard to be able to pull that word for word. So that is why note-taking is so important, and you should get excited about it. Get the things that are going to make you excited about it, whether it is some funny stationery, great pens, fun colored highlighters. Do what you need to do to make sure that you are enjoying the note-taking process, and always take time to review those notes. Don't just take them and throw these books somewhere or you're never going to look at them again. Pull them out, look at them, remember, why did you take these notes? And then even leave notes to yourself. When you think of a great idea while you're taking notes, that's one thing that I always do, is I will take a note and then underneath of it I write idea, and then I write out how I could apply that note into my business and into my personal life. Those are all just some amazing tips that I have for you guys when it comes to note-taking. I hope that you can use them during the free live webinar that Renee Christine, hello, biggest name in the handmade industry, she and I are going to be hosting an amazing live webinar on October 2nd, which I'm going to teach you the 7 crucial steps to prep your Etsy shop for the holidays, which is probably going to be one of the biggest webinars that I have ever done. Even though it's my first one, I can already tell. Because it's my first one, I may have overstuffed it a little bit. This thing is massive, and it is going to touch, I can't talk today. It's going to tell you guys exactly how I personally prep my shop for the holidays and some of my biggest secrets when it comes to Black Friday. It's going to include how I made $3,000 in 1 hour of Black Friday of last year. So needless to say, this is not one that you're going to want to miss. I do have a lot of people messaging me asking if there's going to be a replay. I'm going to do my best, but unfortunately when it comes to these webinar softwares, it is extremely hard to be able to guarantee a replay. Things happen. The webinars can crash. The recording software can crash. This is my very first webinar, so I am trying my best, but I cannot promise you guys anything. The only way I can promise you that you guys are going to see it is if you make sure that you register and you show up live on October 2nd. I would be heartbroken if I made that promise to you guys and then was unable to deliver, but what I can promise is that I am going to do everything in my power to make it happen. Along with that webinar, when you register, it is 100% free. I'm going to put that out there a million times. You do not have to enter any credit card information. There is no sales pitch at the end. This is strictly educational. Before the webinar starts, which I think it's going to be like an hour before we start, I will send you an email with a great note printout. That way, if you are unsure of how to take great notes, or maybe you just don't have the resources to take great notes on your own, you can print out these printables that I am designing myself, which will help you a ton, and you can go through, follow along, and take notes. And the webinar, we're going to be talking really, really fast. So make sure that you come with a quick hand. That way you're ready to actually take these notes effectively and not miss anything. I am so excited for October 2nd. I'm so excited to hang out with you. There's going to be a Q&A at the end with me and Renee Christine, so you guys can ask your questions. I recommend writing those down, having them ready. That way when the webinar ends and you have the opportunity to submit those questions, questions, you already know what they are and you already have it ready for, what you want to ask. Other than that, guys, I hope you are having an amazing week. It has been a busy one for me getting ready for this webinar. I want to make sure that you guys are getting your shops ready in time for the holidays. I keep saying it over and over again. You guys are probably sick of hearing me say it, but right now is crunch time. Now until the holidays, your shop should pretty much be ready. That's why I want to make sure that this webinar gives you the exact steps that you're going to need to prep your shop for the holidays. Get it ready. That way you can make some money this year. There are so many people who say, I never make money for the holidays. I never make money on Black Friday. And I'm like, maybe it's not Etsy that's the problem. Everybody is quick to blame Etsy and say, Etsy doesn't send me traffic. Etsy's not going to send you traffic. You have to do that yourself. If you're not getting views, you don't need to look at Etsy and say, Etsy, why are you doing this to me? You need to look at yourself and say, what am I doing wrong? If you're not getting views, there is a problem, and it is probably within your execution. So we're going to make sure that you know the exact steps to make it happen this year. Like, this is going to be your year. I'm going to help you make this your year. And if you have any questions in the meantime, though I am very busy this week getting this amazing webinar ready, if you have any questions, join the Handmade Alphas, reply to any of my emails to ask a question. And yes, I am a real person. I will read it. I will respond to you. So that is just another way to reach out and get the help you need. All right, Alphas, this has been a fun video. I hope you're having a great week, and I definitely hope to see you on October 2nd in the live webinar. Talk soon, Alphas. Bye. Probably one of my favorite notes that I've ever taken that I reflect on the most frequently is a quote by Mike Tyson, which is crazy for business, but I want to give it to you guys real quick. Maybe you'll want to write it down. Maybe you could frame it. I would frame it. Here's the quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that is a quote that I want you guys to take with you. Everyone has a plan until an obstacle gets in the way. So make sure that when you're planning, when you're making effective plans, that you always anticipate getting punched in the mouth. Have a great week.